We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you because, by your holy cross, you have redeemed the world. Then Jesus came with them to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took along Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, and began to feel sorrow and distress. Then he said to them, "My soul is sorrowful even to death. Remain here and keep watch with me." He advanced a little and fell prostrate in prayer, saying, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." When he returned to his disciples, he found them asleep. He said to Peter, "So you could not keep watch with me for 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not undergo the test. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak indicates that someone wants to give up something, but they can't because they feel weak. They don't think they can do anything, but they are trying. This station connects with people who attend AA meetings. Both the story and AA participants help give one another encouragement. I know close family and friends who are active members of AA. Through the support of the group, they come to believe that they can get through hard times.
We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Then, while Jesus was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived, accompanied by a crowd with swords and clubs, who had come from the chief priests, the scribes, and the elders. His betrayer had arranged a signal with them, saying, "The man I shall kiss is the one. Arrest him and lead him away securely." He came and immediately went over to him and said, "Rabbi," and he kissed him. At this, they laid hands on him and arrested him. I drive past MDC Brooklyn every day on my way to school. Some, like Jesus, experience the reality of prison. I can't imagine spending time in a jail cell, and I can't believe that Jesus had spent time behind bars. This helped me remember that Jesus is with us through all of our struggles. No matter what mistakes we make, Jesus will always be by my side. He even understands the experience of being a prisoner.
We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. When day came, the council of elders of the people met, both chief priests and scribes, and they brought him before the Sanhedrin. They said, "If you are the Messiah, tell us." But he replied to them, "If I tell you, you will not believe, and if I question, you will not respond. But from this time on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the power of God." They all asked, "Are you then the Son of God?" He replied to them, "You say that I am." Then they said, "What further need have we for testimony? We have heard it from his own mouth." This story makes me think of the work that I've done with my dad, who is an attorney. An attorney's work is all about asking questions and finding out the truth, or trying to figure out an agreement. In the story, Jesus is on trial by the council of elders of the people. They keep asking him multiple questions. He's being accused of crimes that he never committed. Nevertheless, he remains composed. I wonder how many people who my dad has represented experienced the same thing.
We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Now Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard. One of the maids came over to him and said, "You two were with Jesus the Galilean." But he denied it in front of everyone, saying, "I do not know what you are talking about." As he went out to the gate, another girl saw him and said to those who were there, "This man was with Jesus the Nazarene." Again, he denied it with an oath, "I do not know the man." A little later, the bystanders came over and said to Peter, "Surely you too are one of them. Even your speech gives you away." At that, he began to curse and to swear, "I do not know the man." And immediately a cock crowed. Then Peter remembered the word that Jesus had spoken, "Before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times." He went out and began to weep bitterly. I look out to the Hudson Bay from the front steps at Pompon. This station closely reminds me of how between 1870 and 1920, 20 million Europeans arrived in the United States. These people traveled by boat to find new opportunities with hopes of having a better life in America. Ellis Island was known as the Golden Door and was the entryway for millions as they attempted to start a new life. The immigrants were processed in Ellis Island and had to pass a test, including a medical inspection. If they were not in excellent health, they were sent back to their homeland. Many people sought safety in the United States, but were denied their entry. Every time I am in school at Fontbonne, I look across the street at the water and am reminded of the people who were not accepted into Ellis Island and were forced to return home. I think about how let down those immigrants must have felt on their journey back with their hope defeated.
We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you because, by your holy cross, you have redeemed the world. The chief priests with the elders and the scribes, that is, the whole Sanhedrin, held a council. They bound Jesus, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate. Pilate questioned him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" He said to him in reply, "You say so." The chief priests accused him of many things. Again Pilate questioned him, "Have you no answer? See how many things they accuse you of?" Jesus gave him no further answer, so that Pilate was amazed. Pilate, wishing to satisfy the crowd, released Barabbas and handed Jesus over to be crucified. It is always frustrating to feel misunderstood, and it is even more frustrating when you know you are being falsely accused of something you never did. This year, we watched Just Mercy, a major motion picture about the life of Brian Stevenson, a lawyer who has dedicated his life to working with underserved individuals on death row. We heard about the story of Johnny D., a prison inmate who was framed for the murder of a young girl. The evidence is clear that Johnny D. is innocent. However, Stevenson has to go to great lengths to prove this to the court. Like Jesus in this story, Johnny D. maintains his innocence, despite the fact that he knows no one will believe him. He does not accept the allegations, and he remains firm in the hope of a more just future.
We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Then Pilate took Jesus and had him scourged, and the soldiers wove a crown out of thorns and placed it on his head. And they clothed him in a purple cloak, and they came to him and said, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they struck him repeatedly. Jesus was humiliated and tormented, but he did not submit to the cruelty. Jesus knew who he was, and they could not take that away from him. Rumors spread. People around me may try to tell me how I should feel, who I am, and what I should do. But all that matters is that I know who I am. I'm not just a culmination of what others think of me. Just as Jesus demonstrated, I can hear what others say and still know my truth.
We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. When the chief priests and the guards saw Jesus, they cried out, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Pilate said to them, "Take him yourselves and crucify him. I find no guilt in him." They cried out, "Take him away! Take him away! Crucify him!" Pilate said to them, "Shall I crucify your king?" The chief priests answered, "We have no king but Caesar." Then he handed him over to them to be crucified. So they took Jesus, and carrying the cross himself, he went out to what is called the place of the skull in Hebrew, Golgotha. As we heard at the fifth station, we watched a movie called Just Mercy, based on a true story. It's a movie that discusses racial injustice, especially as it is linked to the death penalty and the wrongfully convicted people on death row. As Jesus was condemned to death, so was Walter McMillan in the story.
We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. A large crowd of people followed Jesus, including many women who mourned and lamented him. Jesus turned to them and said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me. Weep instead for yourselves and for your children. For indeed, the days are coming when people will say, 'Blessed are the barren, the wombs that never bore, and the breasts that never nursed.' At that time, people will say to the mountains, 'Fall upon us,' and to the hills, 'Cover us.' For if these things are done when the wood is green, what will happen when it is dry?" This station reminds me of my work at the Broadway House Women's Shelter. In some ways, my experiences in the shelter were life-changing. At the shelter, women are empowered and shown care, even though they might not have been shown love or support in their lives before. They go to the shelter to find safety, and they find hope that they can have a life that is comfortable. In solidarity with the women, I feel a sense of hope for the future.
We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. The presence of service a pastor by Simon, a Cyrenian who is coming in from the country, 12 Alexander, and Rufus to carry his cross. As a full-blown student, I help people who are in need. Many people that have dogs that are incapable of walking their pets. Some are homebound, like the elderly, and are some of the most in need. They have close connection with their pets. However, they aren't able to care for the pet as much as might be needed. Like someone who helps these in the moment of need, I walk dogs to help individuals who need it.
We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. When they came to the place called the Skull, they crucified him and the criminals there, one on his right, the other on his left. Then Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, they know not what they do." Jesus forgave the criminals that were next to him on the cross. There are many people in today's society who deserve the same mercy. We should help them recover and support them when they're trying to recover from their past. Jesus intends that even though one might have a bad past, there is always room for grace in the future. No matter what, a person can recover from bad situations. Our children has an impact helping women recover from their time in prison. There are more than 4,000 women that are welcomed back to their old life, all because of our children. This organization, with help and support from students like me, helps the ones in need and the ones who are determined to change for the better.
We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Now one of the criminals hanging there reviled Jesus, saying, "Are you not the Messiah? Save yourself and us." The other, however, rebuking him, said in reply, "Have you no fear of God, for you are subject to the same condemnation? And indeed we have been condemned justly, for the sentence we received corresponds to our crimes, but this man has done nothing criminal." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." He replied to him, "Amen, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise." This station makes me think about the work I have done at Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities puts the gospel of Jesus into action by affirming the dignity and value of every human being. Catholic Charities comes up with good ways to help people all over the world, especially through Catholic schools. Fontbonne hosts toy drives for children that don't receive toys around Christmas and other holidays. Fontbonne gives back to the less fortunate to put smiles on children's faces because they all deserve toys just like other kids.
We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Standing by the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary of Magdala. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciples there, whom he loved, he said to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Behold your mother." And from that hour the disciple took her to his home. One of Jesus' last words to his disciples was, "Behold your mother." He wants to honor his mother in the last moments of his life. The Providence House is continuing this mission by speaking up for at-risk women in today's society. After Jesus' death, the disciples also provided shelter for Mary, much like Providence House does for homeless and at-risk women today.
We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. It was now about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3 p.m. because of an eclipse of the sun. Then the veil of the temple was torn down the middle. Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." And when he had said this, he took his last. Nursing homes welcome people who don't need to be hospitalized but can't be cared for at home. It's a place where elderly people can be aided and looked after. At my school, we have gone on many trips where we visited nursing homes, helping out the people that are being looked after. We made sure that we showed the care we had to the people who were near the end of their lives.
We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you because, by your holy cross, you have redeemed the world. When it was evening, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who was himself a disciple of Jesus. He went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate ordered it to be handed over. Taking the body, Joseph wrapped it in clean linen and laid it in his new tomb that he had known in the rock. Then he rolled a huge stone across the entrance to the tomb and departed. This station about Jesus' burial reminds me of the Barkaloo Cemetery, a historic cemetery near Fontbonne Hall Academy. I have passed this cemetery several times, and it serves as a somber reminder of our finite times on Earth. Several wealthy landowners, some of the first landowners on Long Island, are buried there. I wonder how they might have responded to Jesus' needs if they had been there. Would they, like Joseph, have given their tombs for Jesus?
We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. But at daybreak, on the first day of the week, they took the spices they had prepared and went to the tomb. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb, but when they entered, they did not find the body of Lord Jesus. When coming to Fontbonne, starting anew, I felt hopeful that I would become successful and fit in the way I wanted. Jesus' resurrection is a big symbol of hope to those who do believe, and the way he gave himself up just to protect us. Jesus faced challenges and hardships in his lifetime. Students, too, go through challenges and hardships in schools, and we always manage to pull through in the end. When the stone of the tomb was rolled away, it was astonishing. Jesus' resurrection gives us hope, and Fontbonne's message of inclusiveness gives us strength and shapes us the way we envision our future.